have completed the login feature. We implemented the two-factor authentication. We also implemented the login with Google and login with GitHub. Now we're gonna move forward to our next feature, Pomodoro. A user can start 25-minute session, or user can start customized based Pomodoro session, or short break or long break. Let's say we're gonna implement this method and this feature. Let's say I'm gonna log in. For login, I should get my exact user ID. I'm gonna log in with this email. Let's provide the password. Here you will see this view, right? Home, dashboard, and profile. So on the dashboard side, we will have three buttons. Start Pomodoro. It should be customized, like 25-minute session, or short break, 15-minute session, or long break. You can say 15-minute session or 10-minute session. Let's say I'm gonna inspect the code. We will also implement the backend. If user will start the Pomodoro session, it's going to send the backend request to our API endpoint. Start Pomodoro session. It's going to send request to this API Pomodoro session /start. So what should be the payload? Payload should be the type Pomodoro. It means 25-minute session, and it's going to return this response. Duration or endpoint is null because we did not stop the session. Expected duration in seconds, it's at 25 minutes. We will also save the start time. We are not saving any task ID, but you can do that. Here is the type, which is Pomodoro, and this is the user ID. So now Pomodoro session has been started. If you look up your database, you should see that. Let me put on the focus mode so I don't get any notification. If I look up my Pomodoro sessions table, you should see another Pomodoro. We just started that. You can see the start date. And user can also end the Pomodoro session. You can see the end API endpoint has been called. This one, the end API, it's gonna create the duration in seconds and store the end time. That is it. You can also double check that from here. If I check the Pomodoro session, you should see the you should see the end time and the duration. How many seconds this Pomodoro session has ran? Probably 1 to 1.5 minutes. Now that we will also have another feature, we will implement that feature. Let's say a user started the Pomodoro session, start API has been called. We will have feature in the next video or in the future videos. When 25 minutes will be completed, it's gonna stop the session. It's gonna stop the session for us. If you reload the application, you will see the Pomodoro session, the current session. We will also have API endpoint for current session. It's gonna get the current Pomodoro session. That is our goal for this video. We're gonna implement Frontend and Backend. So let's start implementing the Backend first. We need to have a separate module for Pomodoro session. We also need a separate controller for Pomodoro session. And we also need service, Pomodoro session, Nest generate service. It should be G. So, oops, I changed the name. Get rid of this from also app module. Nest generate Pomodoro. That looks good. We have service, controller, and the module. Let's start from start DTO. Inside the Pomodoro session, I will have DTO. I'll call it start session DTO.ts. When user will create the session, he will send our type of the session. Either he wants to start short break, long break, or Pomodoro session. I can say start session DTO. I'll call it is enum is session type. Don't worry, we'll get that session type from Prisma client or from entity. We did not create the entity yet. Session type. And the second one is optional. You can also store the task ID, right? Is int task ID is number. I'm gonna generate a new class, Pomodoro session. I'll convert that class to entity. Get rid of this one. And Pomodoro session, I'm gonna make it to the entity. Here I should add variables, or actually columns. Primary generated column, the ID will be generated automatically. The type should be number. And column, this one should be user ID. The type should be number. When user will create the session, we need to record the user ID. Let's add more column. This one, it should be enum, so we can specify the type is enum, and I can create the enum session type. We did not create the enum yet. Let's create. I'm gonna create the enum here. Enum session type. I'll call it Pomodoro. It should be Pomodoro, like 25-minute session. Short break. It should be short break. And last one, it should be long break. Let's give the name. It should be type session type. You can also import the session type here because we use the session type in the DTO. That looks good. And the next column we would like to have in the Pomodoro session is start time and the end time. So we need start time. Actually, type should be timestamp. Timestamp TZ, yes, with time zone. Start time should be date. We're gonna use the same logic for end time. We also need to record that when user will stop the session, we need to record the end time. So we will also maybe implement the analytics or reports. Here we also need a duration. The type should be int. Duration int. And it's a nullable to true. Yes, it's nullable. because we will save the duration when user will stop the session. How many times user consume the Pomodoro session? We can store in the form of seconds. And lastly, we also need to have the expected duration. Expected duration where we will see, like, if user set the 25 minutes, we will save the expected duration here. Expected duration, number in seconds, nullable to true. And finally, we will have the task ID. It's an optional. Task ID is an optional. Nullable to true. Now we're going to implement the controller endpoint. To implement the controller endpoint, first of all, we should inject the repository, TypeORM repository. I'll call it as a feature module, TypeORM module.for feature. The name of our entity, it's a Pomodoro session. Let's build the controller. We're gonna inject first of all Pomodoro service, private read-only Pomodoro service, Pomodoro session service. Now here we will have post endpoint. The function should be, the path URL should be start. We also need guards. I'll call it auth guard and JWT. Let's define the function start session, and it's gonna get the DTO party from the nest common. I'll use that DTO in start session DTO. So we're gonna get the user ID. We also need to add the request, and actually it's a decorator request, and request type should be request. It should be imported from Express.js. This one, request.user.id. But you're gonna start getting the error here. Request.user is possibly undefined. So instead of request, I can add the any here. Otherwise, you have to cast the request ID, or you can say user ID type should be number. Something like that you should do in this way, but let's use the any. Here I'm gonna call the session start session method from the service. We did not create it yet. Pomodoro service dot start, and I'm gonna pass DTO and my user ID, or you can directly pass the user ID here. Instead of creating a new variable, I'm gonna pass the user ID here. And finally, if no session, you can send the error back. This should be throw new internal server error exception, or actually we can say that just return the results. Return this one. Let's create a new method inside the Pomodoro session service. First of all, we're gonna have constant. This should be session duration. I'll call it Pomodoro. For Pomodoro means 25 minutes. So we have to convert that into minutes. 25 by 62 in 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Short break. We'll use 5 by 60. 5 minutes. Long break, 15 multiplied by 60, 15 minutes. This should be a user ID, type should be number. First of all, we gotta find the active session, and it's gonna return the promise with Pomodoro session. First, we need to get the active session. This dot session repo. We did not inject TypeORM repository. I'll do that here. Inject repository, Pomodoro session, the repo, and I'll call it private read only session repo. I'll call it should be repository, and we need to get the Pomodoro session. So now all of the CRUD methods are available in the session repo. So this dot session repo dot find one. First we need to find the active session. Is there an active session? Then we should add a logic here. Find active session based on the user ID, and make sure the end time should be null. End time should be is null. Yes, TypeORM is null. This is operator, you can use that. And order by start time, DESC, descending order. Yes. If there is an active session, we can log the message. If active session, we should return that. Get the current time in the milliseconds. It's gonna give me the time in milliseconds. Active session dot end time should be now. If there is an active session, make the current time to end time. Active session dot duration. Here we should do math dot floor plus now minus plus active session dot start time divided by 1000. This is the current time. The current time, it should be, let's say, 8:51 p.m. So it will in the form of seconds, milliseconds, and start time minus current time with the start time. Let's say Pomodoro session has been started at 8 p.m. like 8:30 p.m. Currently we have 8:51, like 21 minutes. So it's gonna give me the time in the seconds, 21, like 4 minutes are remaining in the form of seconds. And finally, this dot session repo, it's gonna save the time. Make sure you have the async await. If there is no current session, right, we need to get the expected duration session duration session DTO dot type Pomodoro session entity, this one short break, Pomodoro long break. So when value is short break, we're gonna get the 25 minutes. This one converted into seconds. This one is also converted into seconds. So expected duration in the form of seconds, because when we need to create a new Pomodoro session, we need expected duration in seconds. Session repo.save, or actually create user ID. Type should be DTO dot type, and start time should be new date, and task ID should be DTO dot task ID. If it is undefined, then DTO dot task ID should be undefined. If it is not undefined, then do this one. Otherwise, add the undefined value. Finally, we gotta save the expected duration. And I should this dot session repo dot save session. And make sure we return the session. We should return this method. Return this dot. Return this one is an active session. Now we're going to implement the end session. This should be patch request. I'll call it patch, or you can say stop, or the end you can say. Here I will get the ID and the stop or the end. I'll call it, we also need guard, it should be end session. For end session, we need the ID. So I'm gonna use the param decorator to get the input parameter. I need a parse int, so you can use that. These are all the pipes in NestJS parse int, and I'll call it session ID, Pomodoro session ID. And I'm gonna call the method return where this dot Pomodoro session dot end. Here we need to provide the user ID, which is we can get that from request.user. You can also follow that syntax, request.user.id. So we don't have that method. Let's create the method. What is this? Possibly undefined request.user.id. This one is from the express. This one will be fixed now. You can also follow the same syntax for this one. Now we're gonna start implementing the end function from the Pomodoro service. Where is the end function? Is here. It's gonna get the session ID and the user ID. User ID, the type should be number, and it's gonna return the Pomodoro session. First of all, to end the session, we're gonna find the session first. Did this session, Pomodoro session, exist or not? Session repo.find one, where session ID, I should provide the session ID. I should provide the session ID, and we need to provide the user ID. First of all, we need to find the session. If there is a no session, we can say that session not found. I'll call it session not found. Here we need to check a little bit logic here. If session dot end time, session dot end time means session is already ended, because we have to save the end time when we will end the session. So this can return the not found exception. This can forbidden exception. What is this? End time does not exist. Get rid of this one. What is the end time? Let's check the Pomodoro session entity. Yes, we have the end time, but why I'm getting that error? Session dot end time does not exist. Or you can try that check. I don't know why it is not working. Let's move forward. Here we're gonna get the end time. Let's say the current end time should be this time. We are going to end the session. We're gonna send end time this one, or you can say now current time should be this one. So I can set the end time, and we also need to set the duration. We should set the end time. Let's do this end time. So end time minus session dot start time and divided by 100. And finally, we're gonna save the session. We're gonna set the duration, and we're gonna return the session. Let's try to fix using my AI Copilot. Oops, I forgot to add the await expression here. That was the issue. Now everything is fine now. I forgot to add the await expression. Async function. First, if there is no session, this is a straightforward, simple. If there is no end time, if there is an end time, it means session already ended. Next, we need to set the end time. End time is like currently I have 11:45 p.m. Let's say a session has been started at 11:20. So now the end time would be 11:45. And we also need to set the duration, how many minutes or how many seconds a user spends. We are saving it in the duration. We also need to implement the get session endpoint. I'll call it get. This should be current session. we will have that current session API endpoint, because we also need to get current active session. So I'm gonna call the method return await this dot pomodoro dot get current session. Here we are just providing the ID. Let's create that method get current session inside the service. Make sure I already created that function into async way, otherwise we're gonna get the weird error. Let's write the code for current session. Here I can also return promise dot pomodoro session. Get current session will return this dot session repo dot find one, where user ID should be this one and end time should not be null. And what I also need to do after where I can set the order time, the start time should be descending. That's it. I'm running the application, but I'm getting this issue, query failed error, end time relation Pomodoro session contains null value. When we are creating the session, we are not setting the end time. So we need to fix the validation for end time. End time should be nullable. So you can set the nullable value. Yes. Now I should run, application is running now. So I'm gonna open the Postman and make the API request. I'm gonna log in. I think we will not have the user with these credentials. Front or backend is running on login successfully, token set the cookie. I think we have that email and password. Now if you want to get the current session, you can also do that on 3001. What is the URL? Pomodoro session /ID, and actually let's get the current session. I think we don't have any current active session. If there is no current active session, we can return the error. Const session. If node session not found, active session found. What is this? Let's try to debug the code. I think I did not create this session. Yeah, that is the issue. I did not create the session. What I'm doing here, I did not apply await expression. That was the issue. No active session found. Here, first we need to create the session. Actually, we need to start the session. localhost colon 3001. I'm gonna Pomodoro session start. The type should be Pomodoro. I don't need to provide the task ID. Let's start the session. A session has been started. Here you can see that. Now we're gonna test this session by sending the current active session. So this one we got the active session. Now we're gonna end this session. Let's end this session. You don't need to set the barrier auth. Token will be set to the headers in the cookie. This one. Let's say I want to end this session. We need the ID number 7. So I can set the ID 7 here. The make sure 3001. Now the session has been ended. You can see duration, how many seconds this Pomodoro has been active, 39 seconds. This one was the start time and this one was the end time. Before implementing the start session, end session or get session API endpoints, we need to fix a little bit error here. If there is an error, when error comes, you don't get the response.message. Before implementing the API endpoints, we should fix this error, response.error. This should be response.error. If error comes, you should set the error message. Now we're gonna start moving toward Pomodoro dashboard component. We're gonna have another component. I'll call it Pomodoro dashboard .tsx. Or you can create a function if you want. Actually, you can create a folder. You can place all Pomodoro related components. I'll place it Pomodoro session. This should be a client side component. We need to import the use state and use effect from React. And we also need a store. We're gonna create a session store. Let's implement the session store. I need as a create method from the Zustand library. We also need Axios from Axios. I think I don't have installed Axios. I need Axios and moment library. Let's install Axios. Here we need to set the session state for Pomodoro session. I'll call it Pomodoro session state. The first one, it will have, we store the, actually it's an interface. We have to represent the Pomodoro session. It's not a state, I think it's a object, it's a entity. So the type should be Pomodoro, short break and the long break. This should be break and this should be long break. What we are doing in starting the session, Pomodoro, short break and the long break. Session duration, Pomodoro, short break and the long break. We should follow the same syntax. Let's say short break and the long break. Short break and the long break. That's fine. And let's start it at. I can also set that start it at string. I need start time. Start time should be string. I need end time. End time should be null. And we need duration number, actually in seconds. And expected duration should be number. Here we're gonna define the state, session state. I'll call it Pomodoro session state, or you can just define that. This will display current session, Pomodoro session, and it should be null. We will have start session method. Start session method will take the type, should be Pomodoro, and I don't need to set the duration. And it should be method. We're gonna have get current session. It should also be a method. We also need to have end session. So this is the function of Pomodoro session state. Now we're gonna define our store. Export const use Pomodoro session store. It's gonna use the create method. This one is my Pomodoro session. It will have the set method. Current session should be null. You can also have this method, get current session. All I need to do is to make the API calls. That's it. So I can change the API calls. Actually, we need to replace the URL here. This should be, I'm using the Gemini with ChatGPT. You can use that if you want. It's a free one. Process. Actually, we should use the variable here. I'll call it API URL or next public ORI, not a public ORI, public API URL. API URL. Now I should replace the API URL here. API URL / Pomodoro sessions, not S, it should be session start. Let me double check that controller. We don't have S, yes. Session start. We need to provide the type, that would be fine. And it's gonna return this, it's gonna set the current session to the store. So because we also need to, let's say if user refresh the page in our application, we should show the current session. I'm gonna copy that URL, convert it into backtick, change that to this one. For get current session, it should be this route. For the one more thing, please also add with credentials to true. With credentials, it will append the token. Otherwise, you will get the validation error, not a validation, authentication error. For get, we also need to do that. After getting the, we should set the current session should be response.data. Otherwise, we should set the null. If there is no active session, we should set the null value. And then we should have the end session. For end session, I'm gonna follow the same syntax. And for end session, I think we need the ID. This one is the patch route. End session, here we should get the ID. So for the ID, we're gonna get the current session first. I'll call it current session. This should be a get method. Call it get method from where? Get current state. If not, we should return the error. It should be current session. Yes, if not current session, we should send the error back. Oh, we are not returning anything. Actually, we return just simple message. Here we need to provide the session ID. Session.id. And it's gonna end the session. We don't need to provide anything here. We need to set the with credentials to true. So we defined the shape of our store. Like this one is using this interface. So you need to have that function get current session. It should be an object, and the function, the type of the function should be this one for start session. For end session, we're gonna have this type. For get current session is we need this type. This API calls. Let's implement the Pomodoro session. Here we need to use the current use session store. I'll call it use session store, Pomodoro session store. We need to import the moment.js. We're gonna use that library for format the date, and it's gonna return the function. What we are doing here, Gemini has written all of the code. Don't worry, we're gonna refactor the code. Don't worry about that. Get rid of this one. I will write it manually. Let's understand what is going on here. We're gonna get all of this current session, start session, get current session, and end session from the store. Here we need to set the state, time left, default state, time left, or set time. Here we need set is running, or actually is running, and set is running. We have to check that either Pomodoro session running or not. This one should be Boolean. And here we're gonna add the countdown logic. First, our application, actually we should remove everything. Let's do one by one. Use effect. First time, if our session Pomodoro is not running, or I can say if time left equals to 0, I mean if it is not less than 0, we should not continue. we should return this from this function. Otherwise, we're gonna have the timer function. We should add the 1 second increment and start the timer. And finally, it's gonna return this one. And this function, this will run. Actually, get rid. Oops. Yeah, this will run when is running state change and time left. When this state change, this function will run. This state change, this function will run. What it will do, it's trying to get the previous state. By default, we're just creating the timer with 1 second increment. When component mount, we should set the current session. I'm gonna create a new function in it, and this one should be async function. It's gonna call the current session, and I'm gonna call it here. Please do that here inside this one. When you when you get new session, it's gonna run this function, right? If session stopped or session start, it's gonna render this component. Now when session changes, we have to check based on the remaining time. If I can say, if there is a, I'll make it more simplify. If there is a current session, we need to show it on the timer. Here we have to set the end time, and this is the current time. We have to find the duration, how many seconds we need to display. Let's say we started the session and then we set the duration. Let's say I started the session at 12:20 a.m. So this value should be the end time, which I have to calculate the duration of 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Then we set the duration, and then if duration is greater then we should be set is running should be true. I'll set left time 0 and set is running false. Now we also need to have the format time function. We need to display the time on the timer. Format time, what you can do, I can use the simple moment.js method, return moment dot UTC, seconds multiply by 1000 and format into this one. Let's start moving towards HTML and CSS. It should be a div, class name. If you want, what I can do, let's say this should be a div. I have to place that here inside my dashboard. I'm gonna render the dashboard, Pomodoro dashboard here. I'll call it Pomodoro dashboard. Let's run the project. I should log in. Let's log in with this ID. You can see the dashboard. What I can do, I can add the page here. Now I should try writing the HTML and CSS in the Pomodoro dashboard. Let's set the class minimum height, screen, and we have to make it flex. We need to display the flex in the column, items center, justify center, and background gradient 2-r, and we have to set the from indigo. This wall will set the RGB type background via purple 500, via pink to pink 500, and text white and padding x-axis to 4. You can see that. If I increase the 900, you should get a little bit, but 500 is fine now. Next, I should set the class name, text 4XL, font bold, or if you want text 3XL, I like this one 3. Pomodoro session. Actually 4 is also fine, right? Text dash 4XL, text 3XL, font bold, or margin bottom 6, or margin bottom 8 is also fine too. Text 4XL, not 4XL, 3XL is fine. Here we should display the time left is greater than 0. Then we need to call the format time with time left. This should be the time of our Pomodoro session. We can also set a separate div for that. I want you to do inside the div this logic, the time one, because we also need to set the text 7XL, font bold, and margin bottom 8, or you can set the 6. 6 is fine. Here I should have this, or you can set the 6XL. 6XL is fine now. Next, we're gonna display buttons. I'll call it, let's display the buttons here. I'll use the flex because we need to display in the row. I'll use the flex gap 4. And if there is not running, if is not running, then I should render something else. I should render the button with on click start session. Yeah, I'll call it. Here we're gonna pass the Pomodoro session. We also set the class name is px6 py3 background green 600 over 700 background 600 shadow rounded. That's good. Here I'll call it start Pomodoro. We can also have other buttons. Pomodoro session. Here should be break. Start session should be short break. Yes, short break. px6 y3 green, it should be a purple 600 text white. Make sure you add the text white. Also have to add the text white here. Over BG, it should be blue. Over BG blue. Here I will set the blue. This should be, I can say, the short break. Let's also set for long break. This one I'm gonna make it purple and the purple. Let's say here we're gonna have the end session. Spectacular. For the end session, you can use the red, that is fine. So this start session will make the API request to the backend server. This one, the start session, we're gonna use that from the store, the start session, this one. It's gonna make the API request to the backend server. Now we're gonna test that. I got the issue. What is the issue? Failed server with we are getting this 500 internal server error. I found the issue. What I did, I wrapped my code into try catch block. I want you to do the same stuff. And then you should run console.error, and I returned through the internal server error exception. And here I log the message. The duration value is a big, large number. What we did not add the brackets here. First, we need to resolve this one. Then we should divide by 1000. I'm also running the project in the debug mode. I put the breakpoint here. Now I'm going to start the session. It has stopped at my breakpoint. It's going to find the active session. I'm sure there will be an active session. And now it's going to set the session date. Now we should see the session should be started. We got 200 response from the session, the payload response 201, which means our API has successfully executed. Now why my session is not started? That is an issue. I think there is a current session issue. It's returning 404. Maybe we did not add the correct URL. Current session, current Pomodoro dash session, Pomodoro session. Then why are we getting the 34001 Pomodoro session slash current? Pomodoro session slash current. I have to figure it out. API is running. If I refresh that, you should see the API is running fine. There is no issue with the API, but we don't have any active session in our DB right now. What we should do, we should change the logic. Actually, I'm gonna remove all of the entries. I'm also running this on my other project. Get rid of this one. Now my table is empty now. I should be able to start the session. Now there will be no active session. It's gonna return the new session. Now current session, again we are getting the error back. Current session. It's an issue, I think, with this code. We gotta refactor this code. If not current session, then we should set the time left. Set time left to 0. And set is running to false and return this one. And then we have to calculate the started at. I'm gonna use the date function, current date dot started. We should get the time, and we should, instead of getting duration, elapsed, I'll call it elapsed math.flow date.now. Now that looks good. We also calculate the remaining seconds. If remaining is greater than 0, then set time loud. Basically we are saying, if let's say I've started the Pomodoro at 7:20, there will be 15 minutes remaining. So it's gonna display remaining minutes on a timer. Otherwise we should set the 0. I don't think I changed anything else here. It's gonna call the active session. Now it has found the active session, but timer is not started yet. That is another big issue. I think there is an issue with absolute value. It display the negative value, so we need to handle that. Math.max previous -1, that would be fine. I'm gonna refresh. It's gonna call the get current active session, but we are getting the session, like the start time and the expected duration, which is 25 minutes. It should display the timer here. When you look at our Pomodoro session entity, you should not find started at. There is a start time. So I should do that start time, but I did not add on interface on the store. I think session store start time, but what is going on here? Does not exist. Current session does not exist. If I fix that, start time. Oops, there is an issue, the typo mistake. Start time. Let's run it. it's gonna get the active session, which end time is null, and it's gonna give me the latest session. Spectacular. You can see the end time. I started like 5 to 10 minutes ago. Now you should see the timer. That is fine. Now we're gonna test our stop endpoint. Awesome, awesome. It's gonna call the end. You will see the end time and the duration. How many time it ran, how many time. This should be the seconds. So you can also double check the entries here. You can see this one. If I start the short break, you can also get that short break session. Short break 4 minutes. I'm gonna end. You can check that from here. You should see the short break. But we need to handle that logic. Let's say I started the Pomodoro session. It should be automatically stop after 25 minutes. Let's say currently we have 7:38. Let's say after 25 minutes, it could be like 8 p.m. or 7:59. It should automatically stop. In the next video, we're going to implement that. If you have any question or do I need to cover any topic or any video tutorial, please leave the comments. I'll make the video based on your feedback.